Howdy, Nicholas.
Howdy.
I gotta tell you something.
Oh boy.
Pre-show, I was playing Russian roulette with a fart, and it almost went poorly.
Oh god.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and listeners of all ages, Geeks Worldwide Radio and the Dork Shared Universe proudly present to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest. Don't you ever forget the greatest and humblest podcasting team in the world. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. He is the comic book writer, Nick Friar, not Friar. And we are
Fritters.
I'd love to have a fritter right now. We are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby.
I thought I'd made a name for myself already, but you've proven me wrong left and right. Look at that.
Anything better than a good apple fritter? A little scoop of vanilla ice cream.
Somebody's ready to get off the diet, but
yeah.
But you're gonna. I know you're gonna stay better. Afterwards too. No question about it, right?
Yeah, I have to. I'm not gonna spend all that money just to look good for 3 months.
Yeah, damn right. He's been on a heater, ladies and gentlemen, not just with his books, but also in the kitchen. But want to make sure before we get things rolling, obviously we are doing what's new this week, and anybody who's new to the show, that usually means that we have something else planned for later on in the week, or maybe at the start of the next week. Usually means we have a Friar side chat cooking. We don't have it in the can, so I can't tell you who it is yet. We don't want to go and jinx anything just yet, but the only place you can find our Friar side chats, sure, we might go and post some videos on our social media accounts so you guys can see part of the conversation, but the only place you can find them are on our audio channels. So we're talking about Apple, Geeks Worldwide Radio, Spotify, Amazon, Pocket Casts, all the major podcasting platforms. You can find us there. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating and review while you're there, and subscribe to the show. 5 stars or better, only if you can leave better. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of backcracker and probably ruin Joe's weekend and maybe his diet.
Boy.
Honestly, we obviously just did TLDR 100 this past week. Feeling really good coming off it, Joe. And of course, here you and I we're doing what's new right away, putting TLDR 101 on the back burner for right now. But real quick, before we get to catching up, I do want to mention the Cloakroom Volume 2. We've been talking about it recently. The campaign for that is almost over on Kickstarter. They're almost fully funded. If you guys want to check that out, definitely go give it a look. That is also a way you can pick up the Cloakroom Volume 1, which I was featured in. If you guys wanted to check that out, didn't get a chance to pick it up, that's the best way to go about it. I know they have the digital version as an add-on, so something that, and I know you can get physical copies as well. So a couple ways to go about that, but I've got a chance to read a couple of the stories from the Cloakroom Volume 2. Really good stuff. So again, go check that out on Kickstarter. Search Scott Snyder, search the Cloakroom. You'll be able to find it there. Nice and easy. Again, there's only like 7 days on it. So by the next time we convene for at least what's new, that campaign will have ended. So make sure you go back that now. They're almost there to being fully funded. But that is enough about that, Joe, and housekeeping, unless you have something else before we start catching up.
Well, so you just talked about TLDR 100. And and having some potential fireside chats cooking. If everything holds true, if there's no changes whatsoever, and everything holds true, Nicholas, TLDR 101 is looking like the first week of October.
Yeah. Oh. Well, no. Nope.
Chats, I'm gone. And at least 2 solicits.
Yes, but if there's another chat that we're working on, and if we record it that week, that chat will be that would be later the next week, and then we would record what's new still. I mean, our main line that week.
That is true. That is true.
So, but
it's getting corrected.
Similarly, it may only be one 101. Maybe may take 2 months to get to. Like kind of along the lines of what you're saying. We got to sort that.
Don't you ever fucking show me up like that again.
Well,
you correct that off air.
I put the listeners first, unlike
you put the listeners first.
Mister, I'm gonna go vacation all the time now.
That's why I became a fucking doctor. So I'm not hanging around with you pores all the time.
I'm gone for 1 week and I never hear the end of it. This guy goes on like 15 vacations in a year. My goodness. I'm gonna call your boss. How do you like that? See how that goes.
Oh yeah.
All right. But anyways, we got some catching up to do before we get into. Actually, we do have an early look this week, but hold the phone on that for a minute. I
Talk
finally read the
about
first
a
wave.
revolution wherever you are.
I finally read the first issue of the Witchblade reboot. Fun first issue. I will be checking out the second one this week as well. Didn't get a chance to do it for the show. And then Vengeance of the Moon Knight issue 8. We're gonna be getting more Moon Knight, another Moon Knight title from Jed McKay. This issue had an ending that definitely left me like, what the fuck's gonna happen? Because there's been some interesting developments through the Blood Hunt event, which I had a good time with as well. But yeah, anyways, that's it for me for catching up. I will do Jed McKay's Moon Knight on here at some point. What do you got?
You dropped the ball about the huge Helverine news.
What do you mean?
Didn't that, isn't that full go?
Yeah,
full series?
I tweeted it out from the show account.
Yeah, but people might not be on Twitter. Maybe they just listen to us.
Oh, you mean from talking about on here? Yeah. So
yeah.
Fair point. So Helverine was a mini series over the past 4 months, I guess, right? Written by Benjamin Percy. I think Danny Kim did the art for each issue. But either way, Benjamin Percy was Danny Kim was Ghost Rider. I'm blanking on who did Helverine, but regardless, we had a great time with that series. It was friggin' awesome. Don't want to spoil certain things for people, but Helverine has been a character in the past, but Benjamin Percy made some changes with it here, and it was so successful that we're getting an ongoing Helverine title from Benjamin Percy, and I'm blanking on who the artist is. That's going to be starting in December. I could not be more excited about that, because I thought when they wrote this, it was like, okay, this is a mini series, but it's like, this is too freaking good, man. Like, this is so much potential.
Yeah. And then I think it was at the end of the issue, and I was like, we'll return? Like interest, and then bang, we get the news. So I figured we should mention that
100%.
Because that's awesome. I mean, it was just such a good fucking series. I caught up on a few things. Chitara issue 2, Saga with issue 60. I couldn't remember what issue it was, 60 something. I stand by this. I love Saga. I think it is one of the best comics ever written. It 100% needs to be delivered in trade form.
Okay.
It's tough, right? It's like reading it issue to issue, especially with the breaks they have. It's like, it's like start a new arc. It feels like you're starting and you're getting a recap of what happened. It's like, I am like a lot of people, I think, where I got into it so late in the game that the first 9 volumes were already out, whatever, and I just fucking blasted right through it. I don't think I've read, anything faster, really. And then getting it monthly, like that's the thing with Saga, right? Is that it just reads so perfectly as like a chapter book, and you need it all together in one, because it seemed like the pacing seems very slow when you're reading it month to month, and then you've got a 4 or 5 month, whatever in between. Versus like you read it all at once, and it just like the pacing's better, the storytelling, it feels tighter. Everything, it's just so. I've said that a few times about Saga,
but I don't think you're wrong in that. First of all, it's whatever your experience is. I mean, that's how you feel about it, first of all. But second, like when you're introduced to a thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to binge it. I feel like I've heard that with shows before too, where people are like, oh, I'm catching up on the few seasons and then I'm binging the shit out of it. And then when they have to wait like week to week or wait for another full season, and like, it's just, it makes a big difference. So I hear you on that.
We've been spoiled in that regard for TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus, I hope Billy's not listening, because I don't want to get into that argument again. But like, like that's just like, here's the thing, right? Like Netflix introduced it, they gave it to us, we fucking like it, and that's how we expect to consume it. And then they realize, oh, we're losing money on this because people are just, doing a free trial, binging stuff, and then right. And so, okay, we're gonna go back to weekly episodes. That's why I like Amazon so much. They at least give you chunks at a time, if not the whole thing all at once. Man, this is such a goddamn soapbox I didn't mean to get onto. But that's just how we've become. That's where we are now in this day and age in consuming stuff like that on TV.
Well,
right?
I hear what you're saying on that front, and that I do think like with Billy, like you and Billy, Joe's other podcasting partner over on the Pineapple Boys, I've heard it both ways. But like I do see Billy's side of it as well. But why I'm saying that your specific take when it comes to Saga is a little different than what you're talking about is because this is how you were introduced to it. Like your
Yeah.
experience was binge the fuck out of it. That was also my introduction to it. I think it was also Keith's introduction to it. And while like I'm not like as like I have to do it the way you're talking about, I kind of feel like you're right on it. But if people have the are used to reading it month to month, if they were on it from the jump or whatever, like that their experience may be different. And I think that happens when you do that with shows. Now, if a show has always been given to us on a week to week basis, that like I don't that's just the way it is. Like that doesn't I do like binging, but I also don't binge like I used to. Like I did it when I was in my 20s. Like now I can't. And you have a kid. I just can't imagine
Yeah.
for you too.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I like to watch. I have the ability to watch things sort of at my own pace,
Yeah.
and if I don't have to wait, I have to wait. Like I'll just wait until it's all done, and then I can watch back to back episodes, or if I get really sucked into it, I can fly right through it or whatever.
Yeah.
Regardless, right? Like I've mentioned this though about books though. Like some books are they just read better as trades, as collected editions.
I'd argue most do, honestly. Like I like monthlies, don't get me wrong, but I'd argue most do just in general. I understand the business the way it is, but I it's whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, you see, some I don't mind, but anyways, this is gonna be a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah.
Red Sonja, Empire of the Damned, issue 5. That's written by this chapter of Red Sonja, right? Was written by Steve Niles, and it was excellent, great ending to that little mini series. And then I caught up on Ghost Rider Final Vengeance issue 5. Had to read that because we'll be talking about issue 6 in just a moment. But Nicholas, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9.
Are you just gonna keep going with that? I wasn't gonna cut you off because
Have you not listened to the White Album?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Beatles, Revolution 9. Go listen. You fucking blood. Go listen to the White Album, okay? Jesus, stop listening to fucking Brooks and Dunn or whatever cowboy shit you listen to, okay? And go listen to some fucking listen to the Beatles.
Some real music. You know what I listen to. It is some of it's Brooks and Dunn. But anyways, we do have an early look this week, and it is Revolution 9, issue 1 from Mad Cave Studios. I feel like this kind of like had a moment like when it first got announced where people kind of like perked up because Revolution 9 is the start of this new universe within Mad Cave, and I've been seeing more people talking about it and it getting a little run. This is written by Mark London, who's one of the head honchos over there at Mad Cave Studios, and then the artist on this is Carlos Reno. We talk about this being part of a new universe, a shit ton of world building done right from the jump, and it's like throughout the entirety of this issue too. You just have a full lay of the land of everything that you are walking into, and on top of that, you're getting a fuck ton of action throughout the entirety of the first issue too. Some really cool new characters. And when I talk about the action too, it's not just like art action, like the storytelling as well. Like just you have one layer added, another layer, and it plays into the world building, but then also things that you find out, especially at the end of the issue. But there's other things you're suspicious about throughout the entire issue as well. Before you give your thoughts, Joe, I just want to let the people know the FOC for this is August 26th, so that is coming up. So make sure you let your local comic shop know. It'll be out almost a month to the day from the FOC on September 25th. But what did you think?
Well, I want to thank you because you sent this to me and said we should both read this, for a potential future Fireside chat. Because you pulled a snake on me on something earlier. But in regards to this, you sent it to me, and then I had forgotten about it. I was like, oh shit, I gotta read that, right? And so I read it today. And I was in pretty much from the get-go, and then there's I was already in within the first few pages, but then something happens in the last few pages, a revelation that happens in the last few pages of this book, of this first issue, and I just went, you gotta be effing kidding me. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So like like you said, it's got everything. The storytelling's fantastic, the art's fantastic. And what I loved about the world building is we have this chat with creators all the time. We have them on, especially when it's they're introducing something new and something great, like with Kieran Gillen and
The power
uh,
fantasy.
the Power Fantasy, right? Like, how do you successfully pulled off this massive undertaking of world building without bogging the readers down in minutia, right?
Yeah.
And it was done brilliantly in this issue. I don't want to say how it was done or anything, because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was done in such a great, perfect, creative way where you could have the world building going on and action going on simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pacing was fantastic. This was just such a good first issue. I mean, I teased this, I can't remember when, a few weeks ago, a month ago. Like, we're more than halfway through the year, Nicholas. Like, now's when we got to start thinking about our end of the year wars with
You're
the
right.
floppies,
Yeah, you're right.
right? I'm telling you, right now, Mad Cave, they're sitting in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
They're
this
fucking flying.
this is definitely pushed them up a little bit, because this issue is a whole meal, and this is like like starting a new universe. I think they announced 3 titles with it. It's like a massive undertaking. It's like, well, you start off to a really strong start with Revolution 9.
They sure did. And like I said, right now, for me, right? I mean, because you can always do Image, right? But
Mhm.
for me, right now, it's between Mad Cave and Dark Horse. They've
Yeah.
absolutely killed it.
Dark Horse has had a pretty awesome year, and I know there's a book from them that you're reading. Actually, quite a few books from them for you that you're reading this week. Let's get into this week's releases with what's new, but we'll start off with Marvel.
Yeah. Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 8. Tremendous. Love it. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man books, period. It's awesome. Star Wars 49, Deadpool issue 5, Phoenix issue 2, written by Stephanie Phillips. I enjoyed this. I'm enjoying this very much. Scarlet Witch issue 3, Get Fury issue 4, Spider Woman issue 10. That's the one that actually sounds correct when I say it. Daredevil Woman Without Fear issue 2, Namor issue 2, Venomous issue 1, Venomore Carnage issue 1, Predator versus Black Panther issue 1. I meant to read this one. It was like the one book this week I didn't get to read. I believe that's Benjamin Percy, correct?
It is. You know what would be pretty? You didn't read the Predator Wolverine story, right?
No.
Dude, okay. I'm like, you have dibs on Predator Black Panther. And if you like it enough to like do an episode on the show, because I didn't do that for Wolverine, because I was like, it's
Did I call dibs?
No, you didn't. But I'm saying
Okay.
I read that one. I read the Wolverine one. Like, you never got to it. So you check out the Black Panther one, and then if we can do a dueling Benjamin Percy Predator episode, that'd be really cool, right? Yeah.
I love it. The rare occasions we're on the same page.
Yeah. So that's all you, and because that's definitely a TLDR worthy book, the Wolverine one. So so a lot of fun there. Very excited for you to check that out. I did want to read it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm glad I didn't yet.
Gotcha. Giant Size Thor issue 1, Miles Morales Spider-Man Annual issue 1. And we got 2 books that we have to discuss. I want to lead off. I want to save the Capullo book, right? Okay. So let's start with Ghost Rider, Final Vengeance, issue 6, the finale of this story, Nicholas.
Yeah, of course, but the aforementioned Benjamin Percy, and also the aforementioned Danny Kim. I've said this. I think I've said this before, but I could be wrong. Outside of Ghost Rider's creators, Benjamin Percy has done more for Ghost Rider than any human that has walked this planet. And this series is another example of that. I have had so much friggin' fun with his work on Ghost Rider. It's a character who I've always like cared about conceptually more than I actually like should have. There wasn't anything that like I was like, oh my god, like it really put me over the edge. There were some cool things, but I always felt like the character could be more. And Percy, like, it absolutely did that. And on top of that, we have the Hood, who we've talked about plenty, like throughout this series, very much at the center of things, and he fucking killed it with the Hood too. Like, I feel comfortable saying this on your behalf as well. If Marvel decides after this, like, you know what? Let's see if we can do a hood, a run with the Hood. Like if Benjamin Percy's writing it, I'm going to check that out because it will be really fucking cool. He did a really good job with that character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to read anything Benjamin Percy does at
That's
this
very
point,
true.
right? And I don't know if you read the letter he penned at the end of the issue,
Mhm.
right? It was fantastic, and he had such a great run on Wolverine. And then goes like again, less so than you. Ghost Rider was never my thing, mostly
Mhm.
because I'm a chicken shit. Um, and so I never read Ghost Rider. Obviously, I knew of Ghost Rider, but I didn't really know much. And then Benjamin Percy made me care, made me love, made me appreciate the character. And then with Final Vengeance here, and then now with Helverine, right? Like
Yeah.
Helverine is wonderful because it's combining the two things that he's absolutely knocked out of the park,
Yeah.
right? The
But
past,
also being it's completely its own thing at the same time.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
right? So
crazy.
like we talk about, writers understanding characters. It's like he's the embodiment of these two characters. And so the Final Vengeance was absolutely fantastic right from the get-go. But I loved the last several because it was like each issue you've got I'm blanking on the Ghost Rider's name, right? The character who
Oh,
but
the
he was
Spirit of Vengeance?
systematically yeah. No, not the Spirit of Vengeance. The actual
Johnny
human
Blaze.
no, not Johnny Blaze. I know fucking Johnny Blaze. The guy that was going after all the Chicago mobsters and taking them out.
Oh, the Hood.
Yeah. I was thinking of his actual
Oh, Parker
name.
Robbins.
Yes, thank you, Parker Robbins. That's what I was trying to go for. I just loved his systematic, and then just seeing everything the way it came together in the finale.
Actually,
So good.
I was as I was trying to figure out what you were trying to say there. I
Yeah.
I looked at the art from this issue again. There is an image of one of the characters, and I don't want to say who, and that I just like scroll past. It's later on in the issue. Joe, I'm not kidding. I was like reading this in bed next to my wife, and I look at it, and as soon as that page comes, I was like, "Whoa!" Like audible, like what? I was like, "What the fuck?" And I want to make sure she didn't see that because it was vicious, man. Like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
like oh my god, it was like great series for great work from Danny Kim as well. I mean, just both of them, just
Tremendous.
oh god,
Yeah,
awesome
Parker
stuff.
Robbins. Thank you. I was just trying to think of it because, like, what was great because his character was so unlikable, so detestable. I kind of felt for him,
Yeah, yep.
at points too. So yeah, that
Yeah,
good
he's
stuff.
he's detestable, but you also see like everything that he does systematically, and it's also impressive.
Mhm.
So yeah, again, like that's a character who has a lot of room for redemption, also has some room to get worse in some ways, I guess. But either way, like Benjamin Percy would do a really good job because he just did a fucking killer job. So the
Yeah,
Hood, more maybe I wouldn't hate it. But that wasn't the only thing that came out this week. You mentioned it, Wolverine Revenge issue 1, Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo. Go ahead.
man, this book fucking rips.
Yep.
Right? I know I'm trying to swear less, but holy cow, man! Like Capullo's art is just so damn good. Right?
Yeah.
And the action sequences in this book. I mean, there's nothing I love more than the idea of like Wolverine just like being Wolverine in the Savage Lands, just
Mhm.
doing his goddamn thing. And that's just really it's a spoiler. That's just like the first 2 pages, and where the story goes from there is
Right.
is
Yep.
absolutely wild. But Hickman sort of takes this story, the absolute just savage destruction
Yeah.
that occurs throughout the pages of this issue are just, oh man, I think I tweeted something out, this morning. I was just like, I can't wait to discuss this book. I can't wait for people to read it, because if you love, Wolverine, if you love, you know, uh, X-Men stories, if you love Capullo's art, I mean, this is just a fucking masterpiece, and it's just the first issue.
Yeah. Without getting into specifics, we have like quite the list of characters
Oh
included in this story. And I don't want to mention anybody specifically outside of
no,
Wolverine, but there's a lot about it that was really fucking awesome. And like that all kind of plays into like obviously amazing art from Capullo. Like this whole issue is glorious. Like that
It-
is like the first thing I thought of. And with Hickman, dude, though, he is pushing the envelope in a way that's like, whoa! Like I'm blown away by it. High stakes from the jump. This is so damn good. Like you see those, like everybody involved between Wolverine, Hickman, and Capullo, people are gonna pick this up. But if you were at all on the fence for some fucking reason, like listen to Joe and I, get off the fence, fucking grab it.
This book, both the writing and the art, moves at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yes,
It
great
is
call.
pure high octane, just pedal to the metal right from the start. There's no lulls. There's no like. It's just bang. And this is something I want to binge it. I want the second issue now.
Yeah,
right. It's that damn good.
It's amazing. It's probably, I mean, this is a really good week for Marvel. Yeah, this is actually one of the best weeks for Marvel. Like,
It's the most Marvel books I've read in a week in years.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is where it's like, I don't know what else Benjamin Percy's got going, to go back to him, but he was crushing it. I'd like to see him do some more stuff, and then obviously like Hickman and Capullo, just awesome stuff. Like, they've
team.
and then
What a fucking team.
I've been raving about McKay and everything he's been doing with Moon Knight. Blood Hunt was a good event. I just feel like they're getting a good mix of stuff for some more adult readers over at Marvel right now, which is interesting to see.
Yeah. This is like, because Marvel puts out a ton of books every week.
Yep.
But like, and it's usually like there's a book, maybe two, I'm reading in a week. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 this week, right? 6.
Yep.
Right. And I'm like, oh shit. And so
yeah, it's pretty friggin' awesome, man. I gotta get moving on Daredevil Woman Without Fear as well. I want to check that out. All right, from DC this week, a couple big titles as well. Nightwing issue 117. Yeah. Batman versus Superman World's Finest issue 30. Superman 17, Wonder Woman 12. What?
I need absolute power. Over with.
Oh boy.
It's killing my fucking Superman story. Over with. Get that coat out of my face.
Williamson is writing it, right? You've been
and I love Williamson. I just
No,
I
know. It's the event. Yeah.
Absolute power. Get out of here.
And that's where I don't necessarily mind like events in general, like from a concept of having the stories going on. I do understand the pausing on mainline titles that you like. Like that can be frustrating. But anyways, moving on, Titans issue 14, Green Lantern War Journal issue 12, Gotham City Sirens issue 3, Batman Wayne Family Adventures issue 126. And then we got the first issue of Jenny Sparks, which isn't really on either of our radars necessarily, but what is Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. Issue 2 of that is out this week. And this is written by Jay Kristoff, who's an outstanding prose author. And then the art is by Tirso, who I didn't notice this the first issue maybe as much, but like his art style in this issue specifically, I had a couple moments where I forgot who the artist was. I was like, this is an Otto Schmidt who did this, right? But there's a little Otto Schmidt in his art style, and I really like his stuff a lot. It has some great action sequences. And what's so good too about this is like, first of all, the first two issues have been absolute bangers, but the writing is very strong in the sense of like, like for us as like Dark Knights of Steel readers, it feels familiar, but it does feel a little different still because of what's going on in the world at this stage. And then for new readers, it is immensely accessible because of like the difference in what seems like, at least I feel like in time period, but definitely in terms of like what is going on in the world. But man, everything that's going on with Deathstroke in this and all the people that they have around the other DC characters, they've been doing a really good job with them.
This was another book, Nicholas, where I'm reading, and this happened several times this week. Almost not with every book, but damn near everyone, where I went, holy shit. Holy shit. There's just been there was a lot of holy shit moments in my comics this week. And, this is the only real, I know you've got more experience with Jay Kristoff's writing, especially Lauren. But his writing's fantastic. He's a great storyteller, and I know he's primarily a prose writer, but he's adapted to comics really well. But it's Tirso's art that I think really steals the show, right?
Mhm.
Because it's mostly black and white, and except for
Mhm.
splashes of color, let's say,
Yeah, well
here and
done.
there. And like we've read black and white comics before, right? And generally I find there's a certain grittiness to black and white comics, and maybe it's just because of the lack of color that makes it appear that way or not, but like
Sure.
the art in this, it's so clean, it's so refined. Even when it's black and white, it's still vivid,
Mhm.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense,
it does, it does. Makes a lot of sense,
right?
actually.
And so it's just, again, it's a beautiful comic. It's a vicious comic. The Dark Knights of Steel stuff, I love it, right? Because this is way of taking the characters you all know and love, and giving us something different
Yeah.
without like, "Oh, it's not canon, man."
Yeah, exactly. And on that note too, I had this thought when I was looking at my notes of just books that I wanted to break down this week because I was very like Marvel heavy, very DC heavy, and I know we tend to do a lot more outside of Marvel and DC. And I mean, yes, images. We talk about big two. It's kind of like big three, and Image is the one that we definitely talk about most. But we in general talk about independent titles, like independent publishers by and large. But I look at these three titles that we've broken down so far: Dark Knights of Steel, All Winter, like Ghost Rider, Final Vengeance, Wolverine, Revenge. Like obviously, Capullo and Hickman are like known for their work with the big two, but like this stuff is all like I look at it as like people who love indie comics. Like these are all titles that you should check out from the big two that I think you'll really enjoy because you have obviously cool characters, but the stories like that are being told, it doesn't have that same vibe that you deal with on other ongoing titles where it's like, oh, like there's no stakes. Things are going to get just like, oh, it's just perpetuating into a propulsion into the next arc. Like it's like, no, like we're telling some cool stories. We're dealing with some cool characters. There are some stakes at play. So yeah, I think these are all titles for like indie comics readers that you should be checking out. Even Ghost Rider, like looking back to where Percy started, if you haven't
Mhm.
done that already.
Yeah, yeah, just comic book fans in general,
Yeah.
whether you're primary, whatever. It's, yeah, those are right. Like it's hard because like Marvel and DC, it's just sheer volume, and there's a lot of nonsense in there, but there's still really good writers. There's still really great artists. There's still tremendous stories in there. Those are all definitely ones that should be checked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're here for you guys to let you know which of those titles are worth your time. I feel like we look at like we're like for indie comics readers, we're sifting through those Marvel and DC things as much as we are any of the indie titles. Speaking of indie titles, let's go to Boom. What do you got for me?
All right, we have Briar issue 8, Blowaway issue 5, which is a book you have been reading, Sir Nicholas.
Yes, I had dibs on this, and I thought this was a good ending, but I'm undibs it. I have undibs it. I actually did it prior to the fifth issue coming out, just because for me, the first issue was really good. I really like the concept in general. I can't remember if it's the second issue through the fourth or just the third and the fourth, but I felt like there was a little bit like from a plot development standpoint for me, it just didn't quite do it as much. Again, like the ending is still strong. Like I can still see people walking away from this and being like, oh, like it had a great ending. Like it did have a good ending. I just felt like that could have been amplified more through some of the prior issues. So I'm not like I think it's like a solid book to check out. The art was very good in this series, but I'm not gonna do it on the show for a mainline episode.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah,
Yep.
solid, but not TLDR worthy.
We have Berserker, the Lost Book of B, issue 1. Again, maybe
I'm gonna do
I
it.
don't know.
I'm definitely gonna do it. I want to at this point. I'm like
All right,
this.
it's all
This
yours,
something
baby.
something we're missing.
No,
Thank you.
no, Nick, we're pretty good. Like, we're a pretty good judge of these things.
That we are. You're right.
Stick to your fucking guns, man. Don't
No,
fucking waffle on me. Don't
you're
fucking waffle on me.
uh,
Uh Power Rangers Infinity issue 1. You gonna check that out, Nicholas?
no, I'm not. I'm not. That's like a one shot thing. I think with other
Okay,
Power Rangers. I am very much like Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers like that. Those are the only
gotcha,
characters that I really
gotcha,
give
gotcha,
a
gotcha.
shit about. Yeah.
And then the other book from Boom this week, Lawful issue. No, was Crocodile Black? Did I forget to?
I think Crocodile Black was also, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, we got that. I'll double check that real quick. Didn't
Yeah,
you
I
read that?
fucking read Crocodile Black. It was fucking tremendous. Why isn't that on there?
I,
Um,
I don't know.
Jesus Christ, Joseph. So Crocodile Black, that might have been last week.
I'm checking. Let me see here real quick. I'm trying to check my email. It was not this. Oh, no, it was this week. Yep, Lawful 3 and Crocodile Black were this
Okay,
week.
should have been on there. Crocodile Black was fucking tremendous. It rips, as does Lawful issue 3. You may, heck, because I didn't put it on here, may look maybe a 2-stack hidden gem of the week this week from
Ooh,
Boom discussing
yeah.
Lawful and Crocodile Black.
There you
Love
go.
Crocodile Black was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
And Lawful is
nice.
tremendous, absolutely tremendous books.
2 books you have dibs on, and I'm feeling like I'm missing out pretty big.
So I'm gonna tell you, the I think you're gonna love both, but you specifically are gonna love Crocodile Black.
Ooh, okay. Because I saw that. I remember seeing the concept for Lawful, like the synopsis or whatever. It's like, this sounds really smart. Like it could be really good. But you've been
It's
raving about Crocodile Black. That's good to know. Okay, all right.
yeah, because Lawful is it's a great book because there's a lot of black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and a character who's very conflicted about living in the gray, and then everything that's the conspiracy and the corruption and all that, and like the world not being what you thought it was, what you were
Mm-hmm.
brought up to be. Like that is a heady, that's a
Yeah.
thinking type book, and it's excellent. But Crocodile Black, Nicholas, that is raw, that is gritty, that is right in
Ooh.
your wheelhouse. That is your wheel of cheese, baby.
Ooh, okay. I am very excited for that. Awesome. Okay.
Oh,
So, what good shit from Boom this week.
yes.
Dark Horse. We got Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, issue 9, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, issue 6, Joy Operations 2, issue 3. We got a first issue. This one kind of slipped past us, Patra, issue 1. And then there's a few Dark Horse titles that you are reading this week. We got Paranoid Gardens, issue 2, Usagi Yojimbo, The Crow, issue 5, and then the start of the new Nightclub title, Nightclub Volume 2, issue 1. How was it?
Oh, it was excellent. I mean, I talked about Nightclub almost immediately when it ended on TLDR, and the way it ended, and then we had sort of Mark Millar's sort of swan song with Image, and then he what was the book he did where he pretty much took all his properties and then you know
Wasn't it? Oh my god,
killed them all or whatever
the
the
one
hell it
with
was.
the one that he just Nemesis.
Yeah. Right, but it was like the special event that he did where he sort of
Oh, Endgame.
yes, thank you. And so you're wondering, oh, what the hell's going to happen, from all of this. And then it was announced he's moving everything over to Dark Horse. So this isn't the first thing, but it's one of the first things he's done now with his properties over at Dark Horse. And man, I love these guys. And the story picks up right where the first volume leaves off, or left off, I should say. And I love these characters. Great action-packed first issue. We see sort of a splitting of the Fellowship, which you saw at the end of the first volume, so that it explores that a little bit more. So I can't wait to see where he takes this particular arc, because these characters, the premise is so fucking good. It is
Nice.
so good, Nicholas.
Yeah, I gotta. I actually have not read the first volume of Nightclub yet, so I got to get on that. Because obviously, I've talked about Millar
Yeah.
on this show as much as anybody, any writer, any creator. Look, catch your breath, Joe, because you got an AWA book to talk about this week as well with Red Light issue 4. Is this the finale or the penultimate issue?
No, this was the finale.
Nice.
I think issue 3 came out, I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago. So it's been a little bit between issues here, but reading it right away, I was like, okay, bang. They all came back to me really quick. This is Sarah Cho and Priscilla Petrades. as the writer and the artist. And as I've talked about before, this is just this is a beautifully drawn book. The colors are vibrant, the art's fantastic, and the storytelling right really comes like I've talked about this with many AWA books, one of which I think was Moths. Right, it's just sort of this emotionally gut wrenching story. And this is a world where you're dealing with AI, you're dealing with robots, right? And I know you in particular think of robots as soulless, just creatures, creations of just pure, terror and anarchy.
Mm.
But what's explored in Red Light is, maybe they lack a soul, but that doesn't mean there isn't something more to them than just wires and and parts. And this was a really emotional ending. And with our main antagonist, Mister, right, we finally get sort of what, not necessarily what his end game was, but what his motivations were, what sort of we get his backstory and everything. And it was just, this was a great finale to what was a great series. And it was a lot more emotional than I expected to be. I expected things to kind of go down in just pure, unadulterated, violent chaos. And we get that. Don't get me wrong, but there's that little extra emotional piece to it that really sort of brought it all together.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Well, sounds like another awesome AWA series, even though like, you had the gap in between with the finale and the penultimate issue. From IDW, we got Sonic the Hedgehog issue 72, Star Trek issue 23, My Little Pony Set Your Sail issue 5. We also got the I think I saw like either it was a reprinting or the trade in general of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees is out
Yes.
this week. I believe it's a trade that's releasing. So definitely something you guys are going to want to check out. We've talked about it on the show quite a bit. You were talking about it when it was ongoing. You did an episode on it during TLDR 100. It may or may not have come up multiple times in the conversation. Go listen to that if you haven't already. But yeah,
I got a Charlie sticker on one of my comic book boxes, on one of my long boxes.
Oh, nice. Then we got Vault Something Crawled Out issue 1. I'm actually very excited to check it out. We didn't get review copies on this one, but I'm definitely going to try and snag a copy of this. What about from Mad Cave, Joe?
From Mad Cave, we've got a couple of books. We've got Gotcha Man Galactor issue 2. And then we got 3 books here, Nicholas. I told you. I said at the top of the effing program. Mad Cave, baby. Mad Cave. 3 books we want to touch on. I've done a lot of talking. Why don't you lead the people off with Dick Tracy issue 4?
Yeah, so this is Michael Morisi, Alex Segura, and Geraldo Borges, all names that you should be familiar with. Geraldo Borges is probably the one we've talked about most because he is the artist from Noah, and Morisi is actually the one of the co-creators of the Barbaric universe over at Vault. So Dick Tracy, this series has been a lot of fun. This is a character who I've said before, I'm not like I know everyone knows who Dick Tracy is, but at the same time, like I'm not used to dealing with the IP by and large. So this was for me, this was like, okay, like let's just check it out. These are creators who I like, and let's see what they do. And the pitch to me on this was like, this is not your father's Dick Tracy. So like it's gonna have a little bit more action to it. It's gonna and there's a lot more violence. It's been that way from the jump. This is by far the best issue of the series so far, Dick Tracy issue 4. Like there's a lot of from a storytelling aspect, like a lot's kind of like moving into place. We're getting some answers. And from an action standpoint, as much as things have gotten like violent through have been violent from the jump in the series, like now some of the action that's happening has a little bit extra weight behind it because they're different people are making moves. We know some more of the players, especially for me who again is not as familiar with Dick Tracy. So I've been really enjoying this series, but issue 4 was absolutely my favorite one that we've gotten so far. Very excited for issue 5. And speaking of 5th issues, we also got Morningstar issue 5. And of course, that's friends of the show, Tim Daniel and DB Andre, with art by Marco Finnegan. And what an ending, dude, right? I mean, like I got chills when I was reading this thing. And I've been enjoying this series, and I really liked that issue 4 as well. But this one was like, there were just certain significant moments and really have to like talk around this. But for those who've been reading, you like I'll be stunned if someone doesn't get chills reading that after the first 4 issues.
Well, I mentioned this with Redline. I mean, this book I was more expecting that emotional gut punch, but not like this.
Mm-hmm.
Not like this. This series in particular has there's been a sadness, there's been
Yeah,
a grieving,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well
Throughout,
put.
the entire series, and then what we get in this issue is it's just sort of took it to a new level. And there was moments where I thought it was going to go one way. There's a scene, with the mom and the daughter, and I said, "Oh shit!
Yeah,
Oh shit! This better not go the way I think it's gonna go."
you're right.
Right,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
and then where it goes from there, I just didn't. I was like, "Holy!" Like just everything about this series has been tremendous. This is one that I'm gonna collect in a
Mhm.
trade paperback, and I'm gonna want to reread. And this is one that you 100% you recommend you have people read, because it's one of those comics that is, not like every other comic that you read. Like, oh, it's great, it kicks ass, the writing's good, the story, the art's good, blah 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 blah. No, this is something you read it, you feel it, you connect to it, and you want to share it, right? And just those two guys, just fucking ninth inning, walk off grand slam home run is what this series was.
I am very excited to pick up the trade of this and reread it. I'm very much with you on that front. It's really gonna be interesting to go back and experience the whole thing and the ending. Like like I've said it before. Like I don't always need like this amazing perfect ending. Like if it's a good ending, like then the story was great. Like I'm still gonna feel like it was great. This ending. This was by far the best issue of the entire series. Like it's not even
Yeah.
a question. It was just a great build the entire way through. And you're right. Like there is a specific moment in all this. This is all like much more emotional, this series, than anything, with like a nostalgic feel to it, because of the art especially. But there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in Morningstar. But there's in issue 5, man, there is a moment where I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? It was like more like whew. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then to round things out for Mad Cave, massive week for Mad Cave. You got When the Blood Has Dried, issue 5, which is the final issue of this series, right?
The final issue of this series, and I've been talking about it pretty much every month that it's come out. And I'm probably gonna butcher Gary's last name, Gary Maloney. Um, man, so he shared. He's been really great, with us, giving us, copies even before Mad Cave gives us copies. And so I've been out ahead of this series for a while, and been talking about it each week it comes out. Like, it's sort of rekindled, I've just said this time and time again, it's sort of rekindled my love for fantasy stories, right? And because I said this once, I've said it 1,000 times, it just takes me back to when I was like in middle school and reading those cheap, paperback, Del Rey fantasy stories that you would get that were like a dime a dozen, and they were great. And since I've been reading this book, I've gotten back into, and I know it's coming out at the end of the month, but the Rings of Power, right?
Yeah.
I've restarted listening to the Witcher books, the audiobooks,
Ooh.
right? I set the Red Son. You say, like, if it's fantasy, I'm in. I've got a novel that is 6 inches thick. That's a fantasy story that I'm obsessed with. So, like, I don't know. To me, like, this is just such a great, badass, kick-ass fantasy story, and I loved how it ended. Right? It was just a perfect 5 issue, tight fantasy story. You get everything you want in it. Right? There's blood, there's chaos, there's dwarves drinking. Um, you know, it's absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
I like I'm the fact that it's had that impact on you though, like beyond just enjoying the series and really liking it, that's something special. Like
Yeah.
that's not something we have happen on this show all the time. And to round things out with Mad Cave, I do want to mention Prairie Gods was the title that you were talking about before. So an early look is coming your way, everybody. Just
Snake.
not this week. I'm gonna run through these other ones, Joe, before we round out with Image and Skybound. CEX, we got 7 Years in Darkness, Year 2, Issue 2, so damn good. That would have been in my top 10. I didn't want to get too recency bias in my top 10 or top 5 of the books that you've talked about, but Beneath the Trees had to edge it out. Titan,
So good though, isn't it?
It is. It's so fucking good. I mean, again, like I'm pissed that like you like if if I hadn't found it first and then just not been a jackass and called dibs. If you had found it like on your own before I did, then that might have edged out Beneath the Trees. But I was like, I can't. Like I got cucked on that. I can't put it in my top 5. And it's my own fault. But anyways, Titan. Been talking about with my therapist a lot. From Titan, we got Conan the Barbarian issue 14, Huge Detective issue 1. From Ablaze, we got Torpedo 1972 issue 6, Saint Seiya, Knights of Zodiac, Time Odyssey issue 5, and then from Dynamite, we got Fire and Ice issue 3, Gargoyles Quest issue 2, The Powerpuff Girls issue 2, and Thundercats issue 7.
I'm all in on Thundercats, man. It's been so fucking good. From Image and Skybound, we have King Spawn issue 37, Destro issue 3, excellent. Again, Energon Universe, I am all in. Red Coat issue 5, The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 95, G.I. Joe, A Real American Real American Hero issue 309. Jumping the gun there, ding dong. I'm a real schmebulok. Rat City issue 5, Black Cloak issue 7, Witchblade issue 2, Blood Squad 7 issue 4, Plastic Death and Dolls issue 3, Self Help issue 3, Stand Still issue 1. Oh, did you read Stand Still?
I read it before you did, and I almost texted you. But you have dibs. Joe has dibs on this. I did like we've done this in the past. We just kind of got away from it where like I didn't call dibs. I read it before, but it doesn't matter. Like we've done this before. The Standstill. Because I read it, and I was like, "Ooh, this is really good," but I'm not gonna quite call dibs on this. Lee Lutridge is the writer, but it was really good. I almost texted you, Joe. You should read this, and you then were like, "Dibs."
Yeah. Before you had a chance. Per Evil issue 6, Impact Winter Even Fall issue 1,
Evil
Bear Pirate Viking Queen, the trade paperback. This is a must buy, folks. It is visually stunning. The storytelling is stunning. It's Sean Lewis. You don't need any more than that.
What a ride. What an to me, what you talked about when the blood has dried, like that is a very specific instance of like how that book impacted you that we never see. But the thing that we see with some frequency, but is still rare, is when we use the term experience for a book. And I think that is the greatest compliment that you or I, and certainly at least for me, that's the greatest compliment that you can give a title that we use with a level of frequency. Bear Pirate Viking Queen absolutely is that. It's 3 issues, but they're like extended chapters, and the art is just like we're dealing with watercolors. It's just we've talked about it a ton. We had Sean Lewis on the show to talk about it. It's got an awesome ending, an awesome message, and it's just so much damn fun. I particularly love the Viking more than anybody in this story, but there's quite a few interesting characters that are involved here.
Yeah, it's excellent. That's how many awesome books were out this week that I forgot that I read Standstill issue 1.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I honestly did too. I was like, oh shit, that's right. We did check that out.
And that book was fucking wild, man. I love the premise of it. But last and certainly not least, we have Jesus Christ, Joseph.
Yeah, Local Man, issue 13 by Tony Fleece and Tim Seeley. What'd you think?
Well, so let me tell you, Nicholas. This was a book that again I called dibs on right away, and you had serious FOMO, and then you read it, and we loved it. It's such a great series, and so this arc has been bananas, and so issue 13 is the end of the current arc, and without giving anything away, again, there's a couple of whole shit moments, and I'm not talking about like sexted buttholes, like moments like this was just an absolutely, like, this was such a great way to end this arc and sort of set up what's going to come up next, right? And where things are going. And so the action's great, like just everything about it. Like Local Man is, again, it's another one of those, like, this is a book that easily could have slipped past our radar, at least initially. But like, this is a book that's just taken off like wildfire. And I feel like everyone's all in on Local Man. If you're not, you should be. It's just it's that damn good, Nicholas. It
Yep.
really is.
It's a reason it's gotten the attention like of everybody, like across the industry, not just readers as well. But yeah, this is awesome stuff, and obviously like Image, like a great week for them in terms of titles. Like you said, with Standstill, we're not giving it its due, but that's something everybody you should be checking out. Standstill issue 1. It was a really fun first issue, and obviously if you haven't been on a Local Man trade, like train, what are you doing? Especially because Joe's done an episode on it. But that, we one of our longer what's news in a while, but honestly, it was very much warranted. We had a lot to get to, and we have more that should be coming your way at some point this week. Again, reminder: subscribe to the audio channels. That's the only place you can get our Friar side chats. Those are conversations with creators across the industry. Some of our best stuff. But Joe, until next time, stay sexy.
You know it, baby.